start by giving us the invocation.
Almighty God, we ask that you bless the work of this Board of Commissioners, grant to its members clarity of thought, evenness of temper, and willingness to persevere in service to both you and the people in Lee County. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let's go ahead and vote.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we've got just one item on the agenda this morning. It was good news to get that email last week that we'd finally gotten that federal grant. And so, John, you want to take
Yes,
over?
ma'am. As you can see in the documents, we had 30 days to approve the award, but we decided that waiting to the next commissioners meeting would have been right there on the deadline date, and we didn't want to take a chance of being late, so we went ahead and decided to have a special meeting. And plus, with the bids coming in next week for engineering services and architectural services, we really want to go ahead and start getting the process going with EDA. As you can tell from the contract, there's a lot of paperwork that we have to do to be in compliance with the grant. And we think it's just better to go ahead and get this approved, and we thank the board for coming this morning. Just on a note, I was hoping Mr. Hughes would be here to congratulate him on the work that he did with this. This is the way these projects are supposed to work. Getting $1.3 million from the state and from the feds to do this infrastructure for Caterpillar is a great win for the county, because being able to do this work on that road and doing the work at the Transmatic building will not only benefit Caterpillar, but it will benefit the our entire industrial base. So Mr. Hughes is here now. I want to congratulate him on the work that he did, and thank him for a great team effort with him and Skip. It's how those things are supposed to work. So obviously we're recommending approval, and we'll be glad to answer any questions.
John,
Yes,
you
sir.
said you already got the architect firms lined up to submit bids for this.
Yes, sir. They submit next week.
After you approve those, how soon can you get this thing moving? Well, my question is, how soon can we go to work out there? Get that thing moving?
Well, it depends on the road, which is, I know you being in the paving business, we understand that, we have a small window of opportunity right now in the fall before the plants close. I would like to sit here and be optimistic that we'll have all our permits approved and that kind of stuff. But, as you read back over the grant award, they, we had to provide the EDA a lot of information about the road, and obviously they knew about the issues that we'd had with Diener and the Army Corps of Engineers, and they want us to make sure we have all those T's crossed and I's dotted on the environmental side. So I would like to tell you I'd be optimistic that it could get done here in the fall, but I think that's going to be a stretch with the design work and then the approvals that we have to have. But
Soon.
if I was a betting person, I'd say this would probably be the first paving project that we could get done in the spring when plants open back up.
Soon you can get it on board to be let with advertising. It'd be better, because now they can do the subgrade and stone base work in the fall, and protect it till the spring and pave it. But I like to see. I know these guys out there hungry.
Well, that's what we're hoping, and we've had a lot of phone calls from engineering firms and architectural firms. I know Bob's fielded a lot of calls from them, and there's a lot of interest in this project, and so we feel good. I feel good in that regards, that I think that we can take that $1.3 million and go a long way with it.
And the 500,000 part of that we're getting from the Rural Economic Development Center, is that where that one's coming from?
That's the State Department of that's the Commerce Department's IDF grant.
Okay.
And then we've applied for an additional 500,000 from the Rural Center to do an access road from Caterpillar to the Clyde Ryan Road, so it won't congest that intersection at Clyde Ryan and Womack. I think that's Womack right there, and get them straight out on the Clyde Ryan. And if that grant would be approved, that would be $1.8 million that we've been able to get from our state and federal partners, and that's a 100% return on our investment in the Caterpillar project. So it's not often that projects come together like that, and that's why it's so exciting, and we have to congratulate Bob for all the work that he did.
Dale has assured me that the legal staff has looked through all of this. There's no little gotchas or hooks or clawbacks in there that we need to be concerned with. So any other questions?
I'd just like to make the motion, and then, of course, discussion can continue, but if that's in order, I'd like to recommend that we approve the resolution and financial assistance award from the Department of Commerce for $800,000. EDA grant is presented, and authorize the chairman to sign required documents.
Okay. Motion's been made to approve the resolution and this award. Is there any further discussion?
I'd just like to say that, there's a piece of pie here for a lot of people. 6.9% of this is set aside for minorities and 6.9% for women business enterprise. So there's a piece of pie there for everybody.
This doesn't have that Davis Beacon requirement in it, does it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes.
Madam Chair, I do have, if anybody has any questions about the hurricane and any preparations we're doing, I did have Shane show up this morning. I know it's not on the agenda, but
Why don't we ask him to give a
he can give a quick update. So I had him prepared for that last night.
especially around here. I mean, what you anticipate?
Good morning. We've been watching the storm since it basically formed coming off of the coast of Africa. The storm has been somewhat predictable, as a storm can be with a hurricane. This morning we did get some good news at 8 o'clock. It has shifted further east. Last night at 11 o'clock and at 2 o'clock this morning, they were still saying landfall between Sauter Path and Emerald Isle. And one of the problems with that, when it comes on shore, if it came on shore, as predicted, it was going to be hitting at high tide in the morning. So the storm, one of the big problems we're going to have with the storm on the coast of North Carolina is very slow moving. If you've watched the timelines on it, it has bounced back and forth about how fast it's going to get out of the state. And if you think about a lot of the storms we have that come across the coast, they are very fast. They come in and they're gone. This storm is not going to be that way. The eye tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock is supposed to be due east of Wilmington, and it's supposed to be at the North Carolina-Virginia border at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. So that's 12 hours of pounding the coast is going to take. And I know Highway 12 and Outer Banks will probably have some new cuts in it. For us, just to give you some numbers, what they're predicting right now, we'll have winds in Raleigh of 55 miles an hour sustained. I know last night they were saying here in Sanford that we were probably going to look somewhere around 35 to 39 miles an hour sustained. They've changed that this morning to 50. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it is. For us, ever since the tornado, any kind of storm we have, thunderstorm or windstorm that we've been having, even these small ones, 25, 30 mile an hour gusts, we're having trees down. Broadway had one last night, big tree in the road, just from a little bit of breeze we're having last night. So that could create some issues for us. As far as preparation, we've been contacting department heads and different agencies. Everybody's on board with it, monitoring the storm, and we're basically every 4 hours just watching the updates that come with it. We will be activating our EOC tonight, probably around 9 p.m., and we'll monitor the storm just with our office staff throughout the night unless something changes with it. I did see one thing last night that I thought was interesting, or actually this morning. They run a slosh model for flooding for the surge because they're looking at 5 to 7 foot along the coast. They said if it comes in as predicted, that there will be 17,000 homes on the coast of North Carolina that will at least have water on the first floor of the property. So, down there it's real flat. The sound is very vulnerable. The Outer Banks are even more vulnerable. So they're going to have quite an impact on every storm. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Shane, I know you can't predict this, and I don't want to jade us by even asking it, but power, would you
think that we've got a pretty good chance of having that outage?
We will have power outages. I will go ahead and predict that. And I
In
think
Lee
it's a
County?
safe prediction. Yes,
In
in
Lee
Lee
County?
County.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I'm saying that, because even the thunderstorms that we've been having over the past couple of weeks, we've been having sporadic power outages. A lot of it's because of the damaged trees from the tornado. We still have a lot of stuff in the woods from the different storms that passed. When these storms come through, it pushes it down. I know the right-of-way crews have been doing a lot of work since April, clearing the right-of-ways, but we will have some power outages here.
And power outages are just 100% directly related to limbs or trees falling. I mean, something has to go across that line to knock it out somewhere.
It could be secondary lines, having trees fall down on them. You know, primaries are usually clear enough that they don't have issues with that, but some of the problems we've had in the past with windstorms is that the lines will slap together. And then basically it trips out. They have to get Progress to come out or Central Electric to come out and reset the system. But, you know, that's kind of out of our control.
One other question. Do you have any sense that Lowe's will be secure enough not to sustain some type of damage? You know, it'd be a real shame, just as they're about to open, that they would be damaged.
I think their structure is secure. I mean, they're in the mode now, you know,
Okay.
stocking and putting shelves in there, so the building's closed up and secure.
So 50 miles an hour should not
No,
really.
it should.
Well, I think that does bring up a good point, though, about some of the other folks that were affected. And, you know, if they have a home that was damaged, you know, they need to be preparing
Yeah.
to try to, you know, do what they can so there's not further damage from this storm.
I guess I got a question. There's still a lot of homes that have tarps over the tops, and obviously with these sustained winds, you're going to have problems with those things blowing free and more damage. I guess when the FEMA completed all their work and these people had discussions with their insurance companies, they kind of pretty much fixed the amount of damage that was done to these facilities, these structures, right? So if we have an additional storm blow through here and additional damage is done, they would have to go back and renegotiate with their insurance
They'll
agents.
get back to
and
their
all that.
insurance company, yes, sir.
And is there any vulnerability with insurance policies and that sort of thing that people might have that if they didn't have damage before and they have it as a result of this storm, that it wouldn't be covered? Or is that,
I would
Is that
not
gonna
think
vary with
so,
insurance
because, I mean, they
company?
would have to treat this as a separate
Separate event.
is it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just, I know I see a lot of tarps still up all
A
over
lot.
the county.
They are.
Yeah, and you know, we've had that when we've had back-to-back storms on the coast.
Yeah.
They get buildings tarped up and they turn into large cells and get ripped off, and then they have, you know, additional damage. But it would be a separate event.
The season is still set up to produce. Is it going to be a pretty?
They're still saying it's going to be an active season. One of the problems we're having that it's because of the heat we've had, where the storms are passing through right now, the water temperatures are about 5 to 8 degrees warmer than normal. These storms feed on that. There's a lack of wind shear right now off the coast. If you've watched the weather, they've been talking about this low pressure trough coming from the Great Lakes versus a high pressure system sitting between us and Bermuda. Those two are fighting against each other, and that's why you're seeing a little erratic just back and forth with the storm. So let's hope that high pressure goes on to Bermuda and lets the storm pass us without coming inland.
But yes, it's still early in the season.
Very early.
September is normally North Carolina's biggest month. So we're in the heart of it, and you know, it's still warm. It's very warm out there, very humid.
And this storm still has the potential. It's 115 miles an hour this morning, sustained winds, but it still has potential to grow. The barometric pressure is dropping this morning considerably, so you'll probably see an increase in wind speed today. And I put a lot of faith in Greg Fisher. I've always been a Greg Fisher fan, and I watched him this morning at 5, and he was talking about he had concerns. He actually called the move to the east before the Hurricane Center called the move to the east. But one thing about the storm, a lot of you have seen the picture of Fran fixing to make landfall, and I'm sure John saw that with him being down there. You know, that's always the picture of all pictures. If you get a look right now, what we see right now is more impressive than Fran coming on shore. This is a monstrous storm. There was actually outer bands of that storm going over North Carolina yesterday. A lot of people didn't realize it, and it was stretching all the way down into southern Florida. So it is a massive storm. So, thank you.
John, anything else that you need to share with us?
No, ma'am. But I thank the board for coming to the special meeting, and we'll get to work right away on this.
I just am impressed that everybody except me are dressed up here in suits and whatever for.
I think Mr. Paschal thought it was supposed to be casual today too, so,
Well, I thought it would be.
Okay.
but I am impressed as well.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
There's one other, could I just raise one other issue with the Townsend's closing? I saw the article in the paper this morning, and I appreciate Susan Conlon staying on top of this and sending emails around. I guess the one point of concern that I would raise for the county manager and for others on the board, that we monitor very closely what's going on with Townsend's. It has a fairly substantial economic impact on the community. We have a lot of workers that were affected in Lee County, plus a couple of chicken farms that are affected. $44 million worth of financial impact forecasted for the area, and you know, this is just really a bad time to have more people potentially out of work. And anything we can do as a board to try to shore up the chicken industry locally, and particularly Pilgrim's Pride here in Lee County, which is a source of significant employment for Lee County citizens. I'd hate to see a chain reaction extend out to Pilgrim's Pride and to see the chicken industry take a further hit. So anything we can do on this side, I'd entertain that we should continue to monitor it closely and try to help the local companies as much as we can.
I'm impressed at Secretary of Agriculture Troxler is over there trying to work through that and being proactive on that. And hey, when you put corn in ethanol, you rise up prices and whatever. So
And that's just one more thing we should monitor is support our federal legislators in trying to get rid of this artificiality of ethanol subsidies and trying to take that feed corn and put it into fuel.
I agree.
And we need to get back away from that.
The toughest thing at hand right now is negotiating with the Ukrainian owner. He's asking for a 25% profit. Investment, right, much profit for it.
He wanted to bring the grain from over there, and the grain from over there was grown around Chernobyl or something. So. Glows in the dark, I guess.
Yeah. Chickens glow in the dark.
New kind of chicken you can see in the dark.
Chickens with headlights.
I need a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks everybody for showing
Glow in
up.
the dark.
You're going to make it to your 9 o'clock.